Shout out Justin, one of our friends. He's the one who brought this to my attention. So today, Desmond Jr. signed for Real Madrid, which is a Spanish
Mm,
basketball team. Uh,
Luca.
yes, exactly. Usman Garuba too played there, if I remember correctly.
Hmm.
Uh, the thing is that Justin sent this in a group chat that I'm in and was like, "Oh, like it's so crazy, totally deserves a spot in the NBA." And then immediately, someone's reaction is Mark, who's been on this podcast before, is like, "Dude, I watched him on the Knicks. Doesn't need to be in the league. Like, is Dennis Smith like he does not need to be in the league." And I think, like, funnily enough, that he like falls somewhere in between. And maybe the reason I like this conversation so much is that there is an argument to be made that he should absolutely not be in the league, and there's an argument to be made that he should totally be in the league. And I think it falls somewhere in between. So, Dennis Smith Jr. The last time he played in the league, obviously, it was last season. That was with Charlotte, or that was with Brooklyn. Sorry.
Hmm.
Um, Last year with Brooklyn, he was really good defensively, in my opinion. He played 56 games, only started two, but he was really terrible offensively. So this is where we go back to my box plus minus stat. Box plus minus again, it's like equaling out for all your situation. What they try to do is equal out for the quality of start players you have share minutes with. They try to equal out for all that stuff, your opponent, etc., and try to give you a per 100 number of how much points you're adding or subtracting your team. So Dennis Smith Jr.'s offensive plus minus is minus 2.6. Um, Jared McCain's box plus minus was positive two, and
Wow.
Derek White's box plus minus like positive 2.2. And so it's like the margin between an average NBA player and Dennis Smith Jr. on offense is as big as the margin as between an average NBA player and then like Jared McCain slash Derek White on offense, which is kind of funny.
Mm.
So basically, for comparison, this is Andre Roberson. This is actually worse than the first. Before Andre Roberson tore his Achilles, he was or ACL. He was still very bad offensive player.
Yeah.
This is worse than Andre Roberson before that. Like this is substantially
Wow.
worse. I was actually trying to find a worse offensive player. Um, and if we want to have some fun, this is like Nick Richards has scores really poorly on offensive box plus
No,
minus
that's
minus two,
crazy.
minus two. But non-scoring big men get really penalized in the statistics, so I don't take too much from that. But again, like Dennis Smith Jr. is a whole point under that. So, anyways, that's just my context. He was that bad offensively. I'm struggling to find a guard who is this scoring this badly. That said, defensive box plus minus has a 1.8, which is better than any player that is not a center that I can find. I literally cannot find a better defensive box plus minus than this. It's better than Derek White. It's better than prime Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart had only one season better than a 1.8 defensive box plus minus. So he's basically adding Dennis Smith Jr. is adding 2 points a game on defense and losing you 2.5 points a game on offense, which in the end is like under a league average player, but conceptually this is kind of an interesting concept, right? So that's just my digging in, and I actually like I test. I've been a Brooklyn fan for a little bit, or not a fan, but I like watching their games. I always kind of root for them a little bit because they're a sad team a little bit. So I
Hmm.
watched a lot of him last year, and I thought he probably should have had a role in the NBA this year because he's so good on defense. But then when I look at those offensive stats, I literally cannot find a worse offensive player than the only worse offensive player than this is Andre Roberson post injury. So who is it?
Wow.
Andre Roberson post injury is -5. I'd never seen that. Never seen that in my life.
Well, Albert, Andre Roberson was generationally, you're playing 4-on-5 basketball for the Oklahoma City Thunder. So that
Yeah,
was that was just an impressive time.
absolutely.
Wow.
A different time than me. So that's my deep dive on Dennis Smith Jr. And if he could get to being like barely, like if he could get closer to being an average offensive NBA player, he would make $20 million a year. Like
Wow. The margins, man.
it's so fascinating. And this is a guy who was an offensive player when he came into the league, man, fifth in rookie of the year voting.
Yeah. I'm looking at his page. His highest points per game and rebounds per game and almost assists per game are all his rookie year. He's always averaged a steal per game.
Yeah.
He came close to averaging a block a game. Wow. In Detroit. So,
Sorry, I'm gonna look up Kendrick
oh.
Perkins. Kendrick Perkins is the only person I can think of who might be this low of
I
a.
I literally was thinking of J. Cole, and I thought because of Dennis Smith Jr., and then you said Kendrick, and I was like, wow, that's crazy
That's
that we're on
crazy.
the same track. But
No,
absolutely not.
I was
Kendrick
Lamar.
Perkins, and you averaged a
Okay,
whopping 2 and 3 boards per game series.
yeah.
Shout out Kevin Durant
So
tweet.
so Kendrick Perkins, the last 3 years, the 4 years that Kendrick Perkins is in Boston, he's like a clearly better offensive player than Dennis Smith Jr. on according to the stat.
Yo,
By the
can
time he
you?
gets to yeah,
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah. Go, keep
by
going.
the
I
by the
want you to
time
look
he
up.
gets to OKC, he's like barely worse than Dennis Smith Jr. according to the stat on offense. And again, this is a stat that penalizes non-shooting big men a lot. So basically, I'm telling you, Dennis Smith Jr. was as bad as Kendrick Perkins on offense, and then was literally better than Marcus Smart MVP Defense Player of the Year season
Can you
on
do me a
defense.
favor? If
Yeah.
you're able to pull up guys, can you pull up 2016, 2017 Amir Johnson?
Oh, let's have some fun. I actually, so I can't sort it, which is kind of annoying, but I can Google
Mm,
it really quickly and pull it up. Amir Johnson, 16, 17.
yeah, on the Celtics.
You want offensive or defensive?
Offensive.
Offensive -1.
Okay, that checks out.
Amir Johnson, though, there was one point in his career at the beginning of his career where he went -2.5 as a 20-year-old in Detroit playing 15 minutes a game.
Mm. I struggle to watch Amir Johnson, which is why I was curious about this question. I did not
There
like
you
that
go. There
basketball
you go.
player. Yeah. Okay.
So this is
Huh.
that's how I was trying to contextualize it with like Roberson and stuff.
That's
Um,
curious.
so yeah, and also this is so box plus minus I think is like a good stat in general. I think like for me it contextualizes players a bit more because like if you see Dennis Smith Jr. on Brooklyn last year, the issue is like he can only pass the eye test so much because he's surrounded by a certain quality of player
Yeah.
versus you know um this is a bad example, but like Luke Cornett may pass the eye test more so than a guy like Nick Richards, but we've never seen Luke Cornett play next to Gordon Hayward, Rozier, LaMelo Ball,
Right.
and Trey Mann. So it's like I
Right.
think box plus minus kind of helps equalize a little bit more, give a little bit more context with that stuff. So I'm just having fun with that stat based off of what the homies threw out there about Dennis Smith Jr. So yeah.
Shout out Dennis Smith Jr.